Hello, everyone. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us today for the 2025 Essential Elements EDU webinars. We're so glad to have you here today. My name is Chase Banks, and I'm on the Hal Leonard Education team. Our team here at Hal Leonard, we're here to provide you, music educators, with everything from fresh ideas to new resources, and really to help however we can to make your lives easier. If you've never joined one of our webinars before, then welcome. We're so glad to have you here. And if you're a past attendee, well, of course, welcome back. So before we get started, I have a few reminders for everyone. Today's session will be recorded. So if you registered, which you did because you're here, you'll receive a link to the recording afterwards, probably sometime tomorrow afternoon. So you can revisit it, share it with colleagues, if you have to dip out early, whatnot. Otherwise, please feel free. We've got the chat panel open here this evening, as well as the Q&A. So feel free to ask questions, participate. Our Hal Leonard team is here in the background to help answer any questions that you might have. Finally, be sure to follow Essential Elements and Hal Leonard on social media to keep up with all of the newest releases and resources. You can easily search at Hal Leonard or Hal_Leonard for those accounts. And then for our EE side of things, you can find us at HLEE Band, Hal Leonard EE Band, or HLEE Strings, depending on what instrument family you're looking for. So we've got a few goodies for everyone this evening. First and foremost here, there's a little pop-up offer. Let's see. Right now, you can get 20% off and free shipping from halleonard.com just for being here and registering for this webinar. You'll see the code there, EEW25. That code is good through, I believe, June 7th. So go ahead, get some shopping in early, share that with your friends and family, save a little bit of money. That's always good, right? Near the end, we'll also be giving away a $100 Hal Leonard gift card to halleonard.com. So stick around. You have to be here to win that. So don't run off early. You might be able to watch the recording later, but you can't win the gift card if you leave. So stick around for that, for your chance to win. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce our clinician for this session. Our clinician this evening is a dedicated musician and educator residing in Charlestown, West Virginia. Since 2008, she has passionately served as the band director at Charlestown Middle School, shaping the musical talents of countless students. She holds an undergraduate and master's degree in music education, and her commitment to music ed definitely extends far beyond the classroom. She's conducted numerous honor bands and has held various leadership roles, including serving as the Region 9 Band Masters President for the past 4 years and Secretary for the 6 years prior in West Virginia. And during the pandemic, our clinician joined TikTok and began posting band and music content to lift her spirits during the trying time. Since then, her social media platform and following has grown to over 200,000 followers. She loves teaching band daily at her school and is always striving to become a better music educator. I'm so honored to introduce our clinician for the evening, Mrs. Rachel Allen.
Hi, guys. I'm so excited to be here tonight with you guys, or today, or if it's still early, with wherever you are located. I'm just so glad that you could be here so we could talk about beginner band and just giving you some tips and tricks on how to make your life as beginning band teachers better. Or even if you don't teach beginning band, there might be something you could learn here. So my name, again, is Rachel Allen, and I've been in the band world for 30 years. And that's going to be very important later. I've been teaching for 20, but I've been in the whole world for 30. I'm here to share things that I've learned along the way and all the things I didn't learn in college too. And just things you're going to need when you teach a group of beginners. So when you first start being a teacher, you have to remember that you are the expert in this. We are the experts, and we have to go in confidently, because if we have students who see us unsure about things, it's going to make them a little bit worried. We need to be honest, but we also need to be confident. You're the expert and you know what's going on. Oops, wrong way. There we go. Now, this is going to be for a poll for everybody who's here. I'm asking you, how long have you been in the band world? So go ahead and click one of those things there, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit.
For anyone that hasn't used Big Marker before, our webinar platform, you should be able to look over in the right-hand column or right-hand area of your screen, and you should see an option that says polls, and then you should be able to participate. Oh, there we go. All right, already got a handful.
Excellent. Awesome. So when we're talking about how long we've been in the band world, it becomes almost second nature to us being in the band. We've almost been in the band longer than we've been, able to have a fully functioning brain. And a lot of things are common knowledge. Like we look at music and see so much normalcy. But our beginners, when they come into our world, when they get into that band world, they are brand new. They know nothing. They don't know a quarter note is one beat. They don't know that A is the second space. They don't know face in the space. They don't know any of that stuff. We know it because we've been in this world for a really long time, and it's common knowledge for us. So we do get lucky, though, if we get kids who can already, put their instruments together or read a little bit of music, but we got to teach them everything else. And that's part of our job. So I can get this to go the right way here. Oh my gosh, I jumped way ahead. There we go, back here. All right, but I didn't learn that in college. I remember when I first started teaching, I was thinking there was so much I just didn't learn in college. It was a serious wake-up call that most of what we learn about teaching actually happens in the classroom and from attending professional developments like these and creating relationships with other directors so that you can learn from them. If you didn't learn it in college, well, welcome to the rest of the world. There's a whole lot more that you can learn. Now, while you're being confident and you're learning more things, you've got to verify the truth. You don't want to accidentally teach something wrong. So while we're learning new things, it's super important to not guess or make up ways of teaching things. Instead, consult experts in the instrument. So if you've never played the bass guitar and you have to teach the bass guitar, you better know how to teach the bass guitar and not accidentally teach them something wrong. And it's okay to be honest about that and say, all right, I'm not exactly sure how to do this. So let me find a friend who plays this instrument so that I can figure out how to do it the right way. Because you don't want to teach a kid something wrong. Trust me, I have been down that road. It's not fun. Thankfully, I've had a lot of really grace-filled kids that are like, oh, it's okay, Miss Allen. It'll be all right. So make sure that you verify your truth there. I keep going the wrong way. All right, so now this is another question for the poll, and I'm just curious what all of you guys think. Who decides what instruments beginners choose? Is it the student? Is it the parents or guardians? Or is it the teacher? And go ahead and put your answers there. So this is one of the biggest moments in our band students' journey, choosing their instruments. And a lot of people have very particular views on whether it should be the parents or the student or the teacher. Really, it needs to be a team effort. Yes, they need to feel excited about what they're playing, but we're the ones who know what will set them up for success. Now, Dad's got a trumpet that he played and he wants Little Susie to play that trumpet. All right, that's great. Little Susie probably wants to play the trumpet because Dad wants her to. But what if Susie can't make a sound on the trumpet? We got to have that conversation with Dad. Hey, Susie's struggling making sound on this trumpet. Do you think it's okay if we tried something else? It's not the end of the world. Most of the time, parents are understanding if you talk to them. Let me go the right way this time. There we go. So this is where things like instrument petting zoos come in and just really, really matter so much. This is a chance that you can get kids in the right instrument. If they get to try them all, they're probably going to find an instrument that they want to play that they might not have even thought of. I held an instrument petting zoo back in February for my beginner band students, and many of them picked instruments that they had never considered. I had so many extra trombone players because I had a really awesome helper who was helping me with the trombone, and she just pushed the trombone and made it look so cool. So all these other kids were like, oh, that trombone looks pretty cool. I want to play that trombone. So yes, they take time. Yes, but doing something like an instrument petting zoo is going to pay off. And no, you can't do it alone. It's totally okay to ask for help. Oh, wrong mouse there. You cannot do all these things alone. College students, former students of yours can help you with that, help you with an instrument petting zoo. And often they want to come back and do things like that. All right, so we've got our big dreams of being in the band, and we want to be a rock star, and we're going to be a drummer, and we want to play the drums. Well, let's be honest. Sometimes we can't play an instrument we really want to play. And that's a tough conversation. I'm never going to be in the WNBA. I'm 5'3". So that dream is not something that's going to happen. If you can't keep a steady beat as a 5th grader, you're probably not going to be a percussionist. Hey, and that's okay. You might play the trumpet, but we need to be realistic about our dreams and just not let any kid play anything that they think they can play, especially if the odds are stacked against them. All right. Thank you guys for your patience here. I'm getting through this. All right. So speaking of percussion, I really like to give a percussionist readiness test. And I do have a handout. I don't know if it's attached here, but inside the handout that I've created, there's even a link to the percussion readiness test that I give. And it's created through Band Director Talk Shop, which I love their website and all their social media that they do, because it's really great, helpful information. But this readiness test is awesome because it sets them up for success. And if they don't pass it, well, then it helps them know, like, hey, you didn't do this. So we're probably not going to be able to play percussion. But percussion also includes other things too. Not anybody can play percussion. I love to talk to 5th graders or 4th graders, teachers. Are they independent? Can they, can they, I'll find my notes here. There we are. Are they focused learners? Can they work independently? Are they confident learners? Can they do something by themselves? If they were handed a triangle and said they had to play it all by themselves, could they do that? And if their teacher's like, oh yeah, they could do that, then they could probably play percussion as long as they pass the test. But if they can't, percussion might not be for them. I think we need to be a little extra careful with our percussionists, especially when choosing beginners. Okay, this way. All right, so now we're talking about getting information to parents and students. Remember, they know nothing. You know everything. You are the expert, and knowledge is power. Don't assume that they know anything. You know that there's a music store in your town or in a nearby town. You know that you can get Essential Elements books on Amazon. However, they don't even know the Essential Elements book exists. And they might not even know the music store in your town exists. So you need to give them that information. Create a supply list. Give them links to things that they need to purchase. Keep the information simple and straightforward. And be prepared to provide some of this stuff for them, because not every kid can get the book. Not every kid can get an instrument. And that is something that I strive very hard for in my own personal classroom, to have copies of things for any kid to show up and play with an instrument or a book, because sometimes their parents can't afford it, or it's just not a part of their life to be able to get to a store to get it. So that's okay. It's part of the job. Now we're getting into our lessons. Oh, they've got instruments. We're finally getting to play some instruments with them. And you know what? You are only one person. In most of the bands in America, there's one band director. And that's the way it is in my school. And that's the way it is in many schools. I'd say probably 95% of the schools in America, there's one middle school band director or one teacher who teaches a big group of kids in 5th grade or 4th grade or whenever you start. And you know what? You did not get your Hogwarts letter. You aren't a wizard. So you cannot magically make all of these kids play their instruments on the first day. You've got to get creative with how you get these kids started. First of all, don't be afraid to ask for help. Just like with the instrument petting zoo, there are tons of people out there who could help you. I had a grandmother one year who had been a band director and she wanted to get back in the classroom just a little bit. So she said, "Hey, can I come help you with your beginners?" And I was like, "Absolutely. Please come in." And it was a lifesaver for me, especially with my flute players, because she did a great job teaching flute, which is something I struggle teaching. And I was thrilled to have her there. You could ask college music ed majors, former band kids. I currently am teaching 5th grade band after school, and I bring a handful of 7th graders with me who've been playing for a few years, and they help those kids out. Sometimes it's just checking their hand position or making sure their reed's on right or pointing to the music and helping them back on track. But that is just amazing to have those kids there because it just takes less off of me, and I know that they're helping and they like to help. They want to be in the band room. This is just another place they get to be in the band room, which is great for them. Now, there are tons of resources that can help you in the beginning of your time teaching beginners. I love using the Essential Elements interactive videos. Just here on the slide, you can see that there are, it shows you how to put the clarinet together. It shows you some basic rudiments, the multiple bounce. If you struggle demonstrating certain things, these videos got you. I personally believe in demonstrating everything, but when I struggle doing something, I always go to these videos or to YouTube because there are loads of information out there. When I first started teaching in 2008, YouTube was brand new and there was nothing like this. So dive into these resources. They are fantastic and I highly recommend them. You can also create other things to do in the classroom. So say you're working with your clarinets, getting the instrument together, making sure that they're doing it. The rest of your band could be working on like a scavenger hunt around the room or musical stations, or they could be watching these videos on their Chromebooks with some headphones in. That way you can work with individual sections. And those are things that I've done in the past. Now, this is, to me, is the number one thing that helps me have a successful beginning band. And it is often a lot of work, but it's always worth it, is going above and beyond. Going above and beyond means we may have to spend more time at the school, even if it's a little bit unpaid or all unpaid, if we don't get paid for after school stuff. I love to meet my students in the summertime. I'm thankful I have a program where I can get paid to work in the summer for a few days. And that is the time I like to lock in those beginners. I can get them going with hand position, putting it together, making sounds. And that way, those first few days, we all know how to do that. And we're not worried about that in that beginner class. Or if I have one kid going brand new, he can work with a kid who's already been playing a little while. And if I've got a big group of 40 kids, then we already all know how to do it. And I'm not teaching them from beginners. So it does take extra time and it is exhausting. And we don't feel appreciated sometimes when we don't get paid for our time that we're given. But this is going to help you in the long run by giving you more time in the future. So I highly recommend grabbing them up before school starts. All right. Wrong mouse. There we go. All right. So now we're talking about making good sounds. I believe there are 5 essentials to creating good sounds. And without these 5, you cannot create good sounds on an instrument. This is just my personal opinion. From 20 years of teaching, I think these are essential. They're the most important things right from the start. With all of these essentials, Posture, hand position, embouchure, air, and tongue. You have to demonstrate them. That's why demonstration's there in the middle. You must demonstrate all of these things on all the instruments, or find high quality videos that can do those things. This may seem crazy that you have to do this, but trust me, this is what makes it work, is if you can demonstrate all of these things, you will have successful students because they will see you do it and go, okay, well, I can do that. You have to demonstrate good posture. You have to demonstrate good air, good embouchure. You have to think about it. Would you trust a monkey to teach you how to drive? No, because monkeys can't drive. But we can learn all these instruments, so we can demonstrate it. So you need to take the time to do that, to learn all the instruments. All right, let's first talk about posture. Oh, there's my demo slide. Yeah, demo. I told you. Posture. This might sound basic, but it's the foundation. I tell my students they should always sit like they're standing from the waist up. I'll often have them stand up and then just bend their knees and find that edge of their seat. And that works really, really well. Feet need to be flat on the floor. I know I was taught by a trumpet player that said I could curl my feet under my chair. And as a player, I still do that, but I don't think that's something they need to do at the beginning because that can often be confusing. So feet flat on the floor. Each student needs their own music stand. It keeps them from twisting and leaning towards someone else. Plus, not everybody is the same height. So if someone's down here and then someone's up here and their stand is all over the place, they're not going to be able to see their conductor, or they might end up having to slouch in order to see their music. Flute players. I have a picture here in my slide of a flute player because a lot of times directors will say that they need to sit facing front with their legs together on the edge of their seat, and it just makes it uncomfortable for flute players. They do need to sit more of like a straddling position to make room for their arms, because they have to open up this part of their body and their arms. So it's hard to do that when your legs are forced together like that. So opening themselves up is key here for flute players. You can play some posture games like freeze pose, or, keeping a silent posture, or flutes melt into the ground and then pop back up. There's lots of things you can do to make posture fun. I know, sounds sort of crazy. And while we're talking about posture, don't let your percussionist sit down. They chose that life. They chose to play percussion, which means they stand. All right, hand position. Now, this is where I get off the podium. You've got to walk around the room and check their hands constantly. I tell them to check on their neighbor too. It's great when they do that because they're like they love tattling on each other. Because peer reminders are really powerful. For younger students, things like the thumb gummy is amazing. And that's what's on this picture here. I have a picture of the thumb gummy. It's a trumpet adaptive thing that helps them put their hand perfectly in the right spot. And they've got one for the trombone, like a grip on the slide. And they have been game changers, especially for kids with really, really small hands. Just gets it in the perfect spot. Also, of course, stickers on your flutes. You can put a dollop of nail polish on the right spot. Anything to help them remember where to put their hands. Same thing on your drumsticks and your bell mallets. You can put a little dot on there as well to help them know where to put their hands. All right. I lost it. Here we go. Nope, other way. All right, next. So we got posture, hand position, embouchure. Now we're getting into the nitty gritty. Obviously, this doesn't apply to percussion, but it is essential for wind players. Here's where mirrors are your best friends. Keeping a small hand mirrors around so students can check themselves is great. Even if you can get them so that they stick to your music stand, that's even better. So that way it just kind of stays there. Some Velcro on them. That way they can kind of go on and off. Is a perfect way to put some mirrors on your music stands. Mouthpiece visualizers. That's what this little thing is that comes with your trumpet sometimes. It's a mouthpiece visualizer. That's what that is. And, a lot of people don't realize what it is, but it helps you see what the brass players are doing. I also love to show pictures of embouchures, correct embouchures, to help them know what they need to be doing correctly. I will put it on their music, a picture of the embouchure, so they know what they need to make their face look like. And then, of course, demonstrating it as well. I use a lot of phrases like firm corners, flat chins. I try not to say make something tight, because tight can create tension, and we don't want that tension. Firm, if we say firm, that's a difference between saying tight. And also syllables. Saying E typically makes the perfect sound for a flat chin. E, E, boom, we have a flat chin. If we say poo, like Winnie the Pooh, we'll create a perfect embouchure for flute, typically. Poo. And these are all things that I've just picked up over the years as a teacher, attending professional developments throughout the years. So these aren't things I've made up. I've just gotten them from other people. Next in the essentials is air. This is a huge one. Beginners typically do not realize how much air they need to use. I always tell kids it's more than you think. They've played recorders, typically in like 4th grade. And, you could hold a recorder out the window of a car and it's going to make some sound. But for wind band instruments, we all know it takes more air. It's a whole new ball game. So I love to use visuals. The first thing I have them do is go and lie on the floor. I know, crazy. Put your instruments down. Go lie on the floor on your back. I have them take deep breaths like they're about to fall asleep. Oh, they love this. They think, oh, we're going to get to fall asleep in band class. So we're lying on the floor and they're taking those deep breaths like they're going to fall asleep, and put their hands on their bellies, and they notice their bellies going up and down as they're pretending to fall asleep. Then we go back to our chairs and we take those same types of breaths as we are pretending to fall asleep, but now we're sitting up straight as we're doing it. And then we take that air as we've been taking those deep breaths and we focus it. And here's where I bring in the garden hose. Tell kids, hey, have you ever played with the garden hose with a lot of settings? And they're like, oh, yeah. I'm like, what are all the settings? They're like, oh, shower, mist. They love talking about them all. And when they get to, and then they say them all, and I say, now, which one of those would be the most focused? If we were to focus all the water in one spot, and then they all say jet, the jet setting. And I'm like, yes, jet, or like a pressure washer in the picture here, is what we need to use. Deep breaths with our jet air is going to get a good sound. You can use blowing out candles, laser beams, all those are good analogies. These need to be reminded every single day in the beginning. And the last of our 5 essentials to make good sounds is tongue. We do not know what their tongues are doing inside their mouth. We cannot see through their mouth. We can look at MRIs of tongues playing instruments, which is way cool and wasn't around when I first started teaching. But there's tons of videos on YouTube where you can see tongues tonguing a certain way, and you can go deep into that. But for the most part, kids just need to know how to use their tongue properly. And we just talk about where our tongues are in our mouth and what our teeth are doing in order to make a good sound. All right. So our tongues need to be in this shape. So playing the trumpet or the clarinet, we want to make sure we have that E sound. So our tongue is kind of arched up into our mouth and our teeth are apart. Where's your tongue? Where's your tongue? Is it up? Is it down? Or laying in the bottom of your mouth doing nothing? I demonstrate having my tongue being up and then my tongue being down. And then they hear the difference in that sound. And then they create those good sounds and the bad sounds. And they realize, okay, yeah, this is what I need to be doing correctly. So demonstrating is huge for your tongue and everything, really. Making good demonstrations for everything is essential. All right. Now, percussion, obviously, they are here hanging out the whole time. We're learning embouchure, air, and tongue. So you've got to keep them busy. So they are working on holding the sticks correctly. I typically only teach match grip here at the beginning. I only teach bells for the first, I don't know, depending on how many times we meet. If we meet twice a week, I'm going to be bells for almost a whole month. If we're playing every day, we're going to play bells for at least 2-3 weeks, just so they can lock in those notes and know how to hold the mallets. Because if they can hold the mallets, they can hold the sticks. Most of the time they want to put their fingers out on the sticks, and we do not want that to happen. I love having a bell set and a drum pad because I don't want to hear 8 to 10 percussionists playing on a snare drum. So no teacher needs to hear that. That will send you into early retirement. So drum pads are much better for beginners to be playing on. All right. Go. All right, so these are our essentials again. These things are the key to making good sounds with your students. Posture, hand position, tongue, embouchure, and air, all demonstrated by you or by other kids. You can start talking to other kids like, oh, I love Sally's hand position. Oh, Maya is holding the drumsticks so well. Look how Maya's holding the drumsticks. Instead of pointing out what they're doing bad, point out what some of the kids are doing really, really well. Oh, Eddie has so much good air. Eddie's doing a great job blowing into his trumpet. Max's embouchure looks great on the saxophone. Saying things like that is better than pointing out the bad. All right. So the next step is good sounds. We made sounds. Now let's make them better. Once I've introduced all the 5 of essentials, we don't rush to the sheet music. They have just learned how to hold and make sounds on something brand new. So oftentimes, immediately starting to learn to read music can be really overwhelming. So we work everything by ear. I do a lot of rote teaching, echoing, singing, and that's great because we can all do the same thing. And even if they aren't even playing the same notes, our goal is just to make good sounds, and that's okay at the beginning. We work on singing. We demonstrate good sounds. If I demonstrate it, and they will imitate it. I know I've played sounds of flute players playing vibrato over and over and over again on a certain passage. And I've had kids imitate it, and all of a sudden they're playing vibrato. I'm like, oh, awesome. I can't even do that. So, playing high quality recordings, if they've never heard someone play a trumpet well, they're not going to play a trumpet well. They need to hear it so that they can imitate it. So I pick 1 or 2 notes, focus on making good sounds. I even teach hot cross buns by rote. So they have a song that they know. And then we get to reading. We can make good sounds. Let's start reading. I start by handing out this fingering chart here called the first 5 notes. And if you Google first 5 notes or see my handout, there's a link to it. Fenton Bands has these fingering charts of the first 5 notes, and they are some of the best fingering charts I've ever seen. They're so clear to understand. The trombone one is very easy to read and understand, and I just absolutely love it. And then I put that side by side with John McAllister's First Fundamentals Set 1. Now, if you're not familiar with McAllister Fundamentals or anything by John McAllister, you've got to get on his website and check him out. His amount of resources is just phenomenal. He's got these cinematic play along things on YouTube. Absolutely great. And these kids think they're rock stars when they get to play along with it. So they're side by side, the first 5, and then the first fundamentals. And then the kids typically don't write in the names of the notes when they do that because they have their fingering chart right there and they're learning it and they're keeping it right there. And they feel like I said, they feel like rock stars when they're doing this. Now, once we've gotten this and they've got their first 5 down, they've locked it in. We play a lot of games like, all right, everybody show me the first note, the second note, and I kind of number them so that I can do them all at once versus saying, okay, F, or okay, you're F, you're G, you're this. I'll just do like note number 1 just to make it easier. And then when we're ready to really, really, really read, we jump into that Essential Elements book or whatever book you tend to use. I like to start on page 6 with those easy songs like Rolling Along, Hot Cross Buns, and Go Tell Aunt Rhody. And specifically Hot Cross Buns because I've already taught it. And now I'm like, here's what it actually looks like. And then they're matching what they already know to what's on the page. And it makes them feel pretty good that they can read it. And they typically never write in all the notes for Hot Cross Buns. I don't really get upset if they do write in the notes, though. Guys, it's an accommodation. Some kids just need it. Some kids don't need it and they think they need it. And who cares? It's not that big of a deal. I can get them to stop doing it, but that's for another webinar. But I use the Essential Elements interactive play along tracks to really help them lock in that steady beat, because it gives them a play along track. And I can be walking around while it's playing. I can say, all right, flutes play rolling along now. And then they play it. And then I say saxophones, because I can just put it on repeat. And I can walk around and help the kids as that's playing. It is a lifesaver since I started using that. I'll have them follow along in their music, point to it when they get tired. I'm like, all right, let's point and let's follow along in our music. All right, now let's finger along. All right, let's say the names of the notes. All right, now let's play it. There's so many things you can do with this, all while that track is playing. They're hearing a professional musician play their instrument, and then they get to play along with them. And they're not getting exhausted by playing nonstop. Keep in mind that your flute players won't be able to go as fast if you use this, because it does teach the flute the worst possible fingerings from the beginning, but that's okay. They typically survive as long as you don't go too fast. You can always adjust the speed in all of these. All right, so we've talked a lot about the mechanics of teaching. Now, the stuff that they really don't teach you in college, the classroom management, because this is huge. This might be the most important part of it all. The first thing is you need to know their names. If someone knows your name, you give them a little bit of respect typically. You're like, oh, you know my name. Those kids will do the exact same thing. Say their name correctly, greet them at the door, say, good morning, Jimmy. Good morning, Hank. I do this every single day with every single student. Now, if I get pulled aside to make a copy for something, I don't always get to them, but I do try to, like, if I can't meet them at the door, I'll try to say hi to them before we start class, even if it means like walking around and finding them. Like, oh, I haven't seen Jace yet today. Is Jace here today? Oh, hey, Jace, there you are. He's putting his instrument together. Calling them by name makes them feel special. Our names are special. Pronounce them correctly. Everybody loves hearing their name. And don't give them nicknames. That's my personal thing. I think nicknames can create just a negative atmosphere, unless they've asked you to call them that nickname. And there's loads of things you can do to help you learn names fast. I'm a very fast learner with names, but I know not everybody is. You can take their picture and practice it when school first starts. I've known several teachers do that, where they take their picture and then they just kind of quiz themselves, because no one wants to learn from a teacher that calls them, hey, saxophone in the blue shirt. They're not going to learn from you if you don't know their name. So make sure that you learn their name. Oh, I got off here. All right. Here we go. Next up. Now, you have a very large class. Say you have 40 to 60 beginners in one room. And I know that there are classes out there that exist. Go ahead and amplify your voice. Put on one of those microphones that you can walk around with. Use an actual microphone. You are going to feel much better at the end of the day, and your kids are going to be able to hear you clearly. So, all while you are doing all this, you need to keep realistic expectations for yourself and for your students. If you create hard and fast rules and then don't stick with them, they will know that you don't mean business. I have done that so many times where I've thought I could lay down the law about something, but I ended up not. So for example, not every kid is going to take their instrument home and practice every night for an hour if you expect them to do that. Some kids will, because they want to. But if you expect them to do this and to keep a practice log, you're just encouraging kids to lie. So to me, that's an unrealistic expectation. My expectation with practicing is, at the beginning, you need to practice every day that you don't have band. If we were in band for 45 minutes, that's your day. If you want to go home and have extra, awesome, good for you. But you already played for 45 minutes. Good on you. But if we don't have band on Tuesdays, you should be practicing your instrument at least 15 minutes minimum. We're really only allowed to give 10 to 15 minutes worth of homework. So to me, that's what I put in my handbook, is they need to practice 15 minutes on days they don't have band. Now, once they're not beginners, my expectation is to practice music that you can't play. You can't play it, take it home and practice it. Have I taught it to you and you still can't play it? Take it home. If you can play all your music in class, well, then you might not necessarily need to practice. And that's okay. Because some kids are going to practice to be better and to be better musicians that are going to go on to do really high quality things in the music world. But some kids are just in band, and that's all right. I don't expect them to, be the best musicians in the world. Our band is not going to Carnegie Hall, and the world doesn't revolve around my band program. I have to keep my expectations realistic. Now, when I first started teaching, I remember saying, I just taught this yesterday. Why don't they remember it? Now, this goes back to the first question I asked you about how long you've been in the band world. When you first started, you were probably that band student that learned it the first time. You didn't need a second time. But there were about 20 kids probably with you that didn't get it the first time and need to be taught again, or at least reminded of the concept, especially with like musical roadmaps, key signatures, alternate fingerings, or just even sharp, flat fingerings. To be prepared to teach those things again. This is a normal part of teaching that I know I really wasn't ready for, but it's life. Now, if you have behavior issues in your classroom or something's going on, don't just, call them out and go figure out why they're doing something. Why are you doing that? Why are they always leaving their reed on the floor? Every day you leave a reed on the floor. So you go and you talk to them. You say, Joey, every day you leave your reed on the floor. Well, I don't know what to do with it. I lost my thing that holds the reed. Oh, well, we can fix that. I can get you another thing to hold your case for your reed. We can do that, because sometimes kids aren't going to ask for help. And you just got to figure out the why. And this is the why in anything. It could be something musical. It could be something to do with their instrument. It could be a behavior thing, especially if they're acting out of character. Sometimes parents aren't going to share things that are going on in a kid's life with you, but you may have to say, hey, I'm not really sure what's going on in Wyatt's life or at home, but I feel like something's different at school. Maybe you can shed some light on it or help me understand what's going on with him better. So communicating with parents, figuring out the why is going to help them be better in the classroom. All right. Come on. All right. There we go. Now, kind of wrapping up, we need to remember that band is for everyone, but not everyone is for band. Don't take it personally if a kid wants to switch instruments, especially if you've spent all kinds of time teaching them the flute and getting them playing wonderful sounds on the flute, and then the next year they show up with the saxophone and say they're going to play the saxophone. I know, I've been there. It's miserable to think about that. But you know what? It's not about us. It's about the kid. Also, if they quit, don't take it personally. It might not be for them. It's part of their journey. It's not about us. So yeah, here, they always do this. Can I please learn the saxophone? It's always the saxophone, isn't it? So my last poll for you is, what kept you coming back to band? And this is more from for you to chat, put in the chat. Here we go. It should be popped up on your screen. What kept you coming back for a band? And for me, it was fun music. I came back to band every time because we got to play some really cool music. I got to play Surfin' USA. I loved the Beach Boys. I was like, oh, we get to play that music now? Heck yeah. I get to play a Paula Abdul song. All right. And I was rocking Cold Hearted Snake. If you know Paula Abdul, my band director got me to play that music. And it was awesome. I came back to band because I got to play fun music. It wasn't because I learned scales. It wasn't because I could play all my notes perfectly in tune. It's because there was fun music. You have to figure out why you kept coming back. What's your why? What keeps you coming back to band? That's what you need to do for your students. Thank you guys so much. Remember that when you are teaching, that you need to, if I can get my slide to come up here, right? Oh my gosh, there we go. To do your best, because it's always better than you think. Thank you guys. Are there any questions?
All right. Thank you so much, Rachel. What a great presentation. Yeah, and thank you everyone for being here. Here, before we sign off or do a couple quick Q&A questions, we do have our giveaway as promised. So let me go ahead and launch that right now. This is for a $100 gift card to howleonard.com. Keep in mind, you still have that 20% off and free shipping code as well for everyone that's here. So here we go. Let's launch this giveaway. And sorry, bear with me 1 second here. And there we go. And spinning. Let's see. And our winner is Shannon Rowlands. Awesome. Shannon, you will be getting a message from us with your certificate for your coupon and gift card. So congratulations, Shannon. Thanks for being here. Thanks for everyone for tuning in today. A huge shout out to Rachel, obviously, for being here and for her expertise. I think we've got a couple Q&A and a couple questions here in the chat. Rachel, one from earlier in the presentation, they were asking about what was the piece of equipment on the trombone you were talking about.
Yeah, so that's all created through Thumb Gummy, and I think it's he's calling, I don't know what he's calling the trombone one yet. It's not out until like the end of this month, I believe. I got an actual sample of it, which was kind of cool. But it's through, if you Google Thumb Gummy, or if my handout is in there, there's a link in my handout to the website. But I mean, if you Google it, you should be able to find it. To me, it's a game changer. And I see, if a student isn't practicing at home and you've already talked with them about it and talked to the parents, what would you do next? I mean, if your expectation is for them to practice at home, I'm not really sure. I don't necessarily always expect them to practice at home. I realize that the world doesn't revolve around my band program. But I would also try to give them music that might want them to practice at home. Fun music. Sometimes kids just can't practice at home because it's not in their situation. They live in an apartment. They've got a baby at home. Their dog barks like crazy every time they play. So I don't really have hard and fast expectations and rules when it comes to practicing at home. So might not be the best person to answer that for you. I'd love to hear examples of specific procedures for the time from when students enter the room until class begins. Oh, okay. So the way I run it is you walk in, you get your instrument. Everybody can kind of chat and talk as they're getting themselves set up. They grab their stand, they grab their stuff. We have 4 minutes between our bells, which to me is insane, but no one's ever tardy. And so they roll in, they get themselves set up, and I give them 3 minutes even after the bell rings. So that's technically 7 minutes if they get there right, as soon as their classroom's next door. They have a lot of time to get ready. And then and some kids will like make some sounds to make sure their instruments are working, but I really don't encourage them to play a lot because it can be chaos in the band room because we can't hear what's going on or hear announcements. And then when that 3 minutes is up, I step on the podium and I start waving my arms and we warm up. So, and everything's on the board. They know what they're doing because they're looking at the board. Agenda's up there. So that's how I do it. I don't teach orchestra. I used to not want to teach orchestra, but now I'm like, I wish we had one because I feel like there's kids who are missing out in my school. And what's my favorite part of teaching middle school band? Oh gosh, this changes all the time. Getting to go to amusement parks. I'm just kidding. It honestly, the beginning moment when they get to, get that sound, that's great. But I think that my real favorite thing is that it's all them. It's not me. I give them the tools and point them in the right direction, but then they are the payoff. All their work is them. It's not me. So, there's more questions. Oh my gosh, I don't even know if I'm going to get to all these. Chase, we already have 50 minutes.
Yeah, it's all good. Here, let's pick like one or two more that we can answer, and then we can sign off for the evening.
All right. What advice would you give to new band teachers with no band experience? Like never, like you weren't even in the band? Go be in a band room. Go watch other people in the band. Watch other people teach. That's the number one thing I would do. Go sit in a band, be in a band, and watch a band director, because then you'll learn. What is maybe one or two pieces of daily advice you give yourself or your students to keep working on getting better? I tried, this is something I keep in my head, I guess, is that, if we are working on something and it doesn't necessarily happen, or we don't get it that day, I'd say, oh, well, we've got tomorrow. We've got the next day. And I tell the kids that too. I'm like, well, if you don't get it today, you might get it tomorrow. And like currently we have a concert Thursday, and all my marches, I've been trying to get to tempo, proper tempo for a march. But I haven't been breaking my back trying to do it, because I know that getting a tempo to be, getting a band to play at 128 beats per minute is what I want, but is it what they can do? Can they do it? We're trying. If it doesn't happen, it's not the end of the world. A lot of us had band directors growing up that made it feel like the end of the world if we didn't do something right. And I think that affected us more than we know. But we can't be like that with middle schoolers. We can't take the experience we had in college with a very intense director and be that way in middle school with beginners, especially. They won't come back. They will walk out that door and not come back. We have to make it fun and exciting. So
that's awesome. Rachel, thank you so much for the honesty, the truth that you're sharing here about just how the realism that we go through with that. Thank you for your time. Thank you, everyone, for being here this evening. Just a few quick reminders. Tomorrow, probably late afternoon, expect to get an email with a video recording of this session that you can review, share with folks. Let me get that pop-up offer on the screen one more time here. Let's see. The coupon code is EEW25. So that'll give you 20% off and free shipping from howleonard.com. Go ahead and screen grab that right now. And the last thing I want to say, Rachel was talking about some video resources online, specifically through Essential Elements Interactive. For those that don't know, the EE Method Book series just had a huge update. And there's a lot of online brand new content that is incredible that our team put together. There are over 400 new instructional videos for band and strings, everything from literally putting together the clarinet to crossing the break to everything you could think of. There's also a bunch of new pop content in there. So a lot of the Taylor Swift, the Olivia Rodrigo, Chapel Roan, there's all sorts of fun pop content online through Essential Elements Interactive that you and your students can access as well. So definitely check that out. Check out the new method books. Maybe use that 20% off coupon, get some new books. That'd be great. But nonetheless, thank you all for registering and being here. We've got a few more sessions this week. But thank you so much for being here. And Rachel, thanks again for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here tonight. And thank you, Chase, and for Essential Elements for having me.
Absolutely. All right. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.